to recycle into the transition into a net zero future. Some of that revenue we are co-investing with private enterprise to bring forward large-scale capital investments to decarbonise industry and energy. Some of that revenue we have dedicated to reducing methane and nitrous oxide emissions from the farming sector. We have introduced vehicle emissions incentives and standards. As a result, electric vehicle sales have risen from 1% of all new cars sold 5 years ago to 5% of all new cars sold 1 year ago to now 30% of all new car sales in the last few months. Under Article 2.1b of the Paris Agreement on Adaptation, since Glasgow, we have published our first National Adaptation Plan. This National Adaptation Plan outlines how we will support our communities to become more resilient to the droughts, floods, fires and storms that we are already experiencing as a result of the 1.1 degrees of temperature warming that has already occurred. Under Article 2.1c of the Paris Agreement on Finance, since Glasgow, we have passed a law requiring climate-related financial disclosures from large listed companies and from financial institutions, in line with the recommendations of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. In addition, this morning we announced that we will be issuing our first US $3 billion of sovereign green bonds to support our transition to a net zero future. Mr. President, across the world, the response to climate change must include and support Indigenous people. I arrive at COP27 with work underway to support an Indigenous framework for action that will be led by our Indigenous Māori people, by our Māori people, for Māori people. In addition, beg your pardon. We are running out of time. Before us lies a simple choice. Do we want a world that is defined by the ravages of climate change, or do we want a world that is cleaner, fairer, safer, and more productive than it is today? It seems like a simple choice, and yet we still cling to outdated thinking and practices. We're still clinging to the fossil-fueled world of the past. The latest report shows that our collective commitments only add up to a 2.4-degree world. Go and ask a young person what they think of that choice, what they think about the future that we are preparing for them. And brace yourselves for the answer, because they know, as do we, that a better world is possible. And they know that we have the means and the disposal at our disposal to create it. They know that all we lack is the political ambition and the will to make it happen. Aotearoa New Zealand is committed to bold, enduring action on climate change, because in our region, the Blue Pacific, climate change is an existential challenge. In our region, 1.5 degrees is critical, and the decisions of this COP must reconfirm our commitment to 1.5, to Paris, and to the decisions that we made in Glasgow. As ever, it will be the most vulnerable who will be the worst affected, and we cannot stand by and knowingly let that happen. It is only through our collective action and our shared commitments that we will rise to the challenge and take that opportunity. So let's get to it. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. On behalf of the conference, I would like to thank you all for your statements. Distinguished delegates, we will continue with the delivery of national statements today at 15 hours in this plenary. With this, I declare this joint meeting